So United States District Court, Southern District of New York, United States of America versus Ghislaine Maxwell, defendant. And then this is the case number here, guys, 20, right? This is the fiscal year, okay? CR means it's criminal. If it's MJ, it means it's not criminal yet. And then 330, which is the actual case number, right? Count 1, conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, okay? And if you guys remember, we had talked about how Epstein, so quick little recap on this real fast, right, from the other show, right? So this is Epstein's scheme. Basically, he gathered, and when we talked about this, guys, we talked about this back in like 2005, okay? This is kind of before Ghislaine gets into the picture too much as far as like with the Florida residences, because remember, she was living in England at the time. So what he would do is he would recruit girls from the high school nearby in West Palm Beach, and he would get them to get other girls to come to the place to give him a massage, and then he would try to use that, to feel up on them and do sex acts, whatever. It was really disturbing. And if you guys watch the other episode that I did on Epstein, we go through the entire affidavit where outlines it, and it was extremely disturbing, guys. But it kind of gave you insight as to what kind of a sick individual Epstein was. But Ghislaine basically was helping him procure these women, okay? And Epstein had a bunch of people. He had like a network of recruiters that would do it for him. He had high school girls doing it. He had Ghislaine. He had other women doing it. He was doing had all kinds of women helping him out with this, okay? And then he would pay the girls for doing these massages, somewhere between $200 to $500 every single time they came. And a bunch of the girls would come in repeat times, bring other friends. They'd get paid for referrals. So he had like a whole little thing going on, like he had a whole ring going, okay? And the thing is, guys, is that with the feds come in anytime they're under 18. Now, if these women were 18 years old or older, there would be no case. This would be solicitation, prostitution. It is what it is. But since they were minors, bang, automatically becomes federal. And since they were using phones, and they were bringing girls from out of state, flying all over the place, he was going between New York to Florida to New Mexico. This affects interstate commerce, which makes it a federal case, guys. So, all right, overview. The grand jury charges. The charges set forth herein stem from the role of Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, in the sexual exploitation and abuse of multiple minor girls by Jeffrey Epstein. In particular, from at least in or about 1994 up to and including at least in or about 1997, Maxwell assisted, facilitated, and contributed to Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minors girls by, among other things, helping Epstein to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims known to Maxwell and Epstein to be under the age of 18. The victims were as young as 14 years old when they were groomed and abused by Maxwell and Epstein, both of whom knew that certain victims were in fact under the age of 18. And matter of fact, guys, let me open up this right here because what I'm thinking is that I'm going to get you guys, because I'm trying to highlight this thing. And, let me just fucking download it right here. Oh, okay. Boom.
Press like edit or something.
What was that?
I think it's press like edit, like we did last time.
No, I don't think so. Here we go. So here's the indictment I got saved here. Yeah. So, okay. And then, damn it. How do you highlight it? Is it? Okay. Fuck it. We'll just continue. We do it live. We keep going. I'm technology challenged, I guess, with this thing. Okay. When they were groomed and abused by Maxwell and Epstein, both of whom knew that certain victims were in fact under the age of 18. So that's the key right there, guys, okay? Paragraph 2. As part of and in furtherance of their scheme to abuse minor victims, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, and Jeffrey Epstein enticed and caused minor victims to travel to Epstein's residences in different states, which Maxwell knew and intended would result in their grooming for and subjection to sexual abuse. And remember, I told you guys it starts with with massages, right? Moreover, in an effort to conceal her crimes, Maxwell repeatedly lied when questioned about her conduct, including in relation to some of the minor victims described herein when providing testimony under oath in 2016. Factual background. All right, so now we're going to get into the facts of the case. All right, guys? During the time periods charged in this indictment, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, had a personal and professional relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and was among his closest associates. In particular, between in or about 1994 and in or about 1997, Maxwell was in an intimate relationship with Epstein and also was paid by Epstein to manage his various properties. Over the course of their relationship, Maxwell and Epstein were photographed together on multiple occasions, including the image below. And this right here, guys, is like the main photo the U.S. government uses all the time as exhibits to show their relationship. And I think this photo was taken in the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. Beginning in at least 1994, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, enticed and groomed multiple minor girls to engage in sex acts with Jeffrey Epstein through a variety of means and methods, including but not limited to the following. Maxwell first attempted to befriend some of the Epstein's minor victims prior to their abuse, including by asking the victims about their lives, their schools, and their families. Maxwell and Epstein would spend time building friendships with minor victims by, for example, taking minor victims to the movies or shopping. Some of these outings would involve Maxwell and Epstein spending time together with a minor victim, while some would involve Maxwell and Epstein spending time alone with the minor victim. Having developed a rapport with the victim, Maxwell would try to normalize sexual abuse for a minor victim by, among other things, discussing sexual topics, undressing in front of the victim, being present when a minor victim was undressed, and or being present for sex acts involving the minor victim and Epstein. Yes, guys, it's going to get pretty tough here, okay? These are some pretty heinous crimes, but we'll get through this. The Epstein episode was even tougher. Like, at least with her, she was just recruiting. She wasn't really involved in it as much as this guy. Obviously, is this was all for Epstein, but yeah, she was involved in some degrees. Dildos were involved and sex toys, and yeah, it's just terrible. Maxwell's presence during minor victims' interactions with Epstein, including interactions where the minor victims were undressed, or that involved sex acts with Epstein, helped put the victims at ease because an adult woman was present. We talk about pre-selection, right, guys? Terrible, but you guys can see it in its most primal form here. Epstein wasn't stupid. He always used female recruiters, guys, when he was doing this scheme, okay? He never used guys. He always used Ghislaine, other young women, and girls that were also in the same high school, social circle, etc. All right? This is an example of using female psychology in a nefarious way, okay? For example, in some instances, Maxwell would message Epstein in front of a minor victim. In other instances, Maxwell encouraged minor victims to provide massages to Epstein, including sexualized massages, during which a minor victim would be fully or partially nude. Many of these massages resulted in Epstein sexually abusing the minor victims, which you guys saw on the other episode how he would do this. In addition, Epstein offered to help some minor victims by paying for travel and or educational opportunities, and Maxwell encouraged certain victims to accept Epstein's assistance. As a result, victims were made to feel indebted and believe that Maxwell and Epstein were trying to help them. Okay. And let me push this to the side here. Bam. Okay. Through this process, Maxwell and Epstein enticed victims to engage in sexual activity with Epstein. In some instances, Maxwell was present for and participated in the sexual abuse of minor victims. Some such incidents occurred in the context of messages which developed into sexual encounters. Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, facilitated Jeffrey Epstein's access to minor victims, knowing that he had a sexual preference for underage girls and that he intended to engage in sexual activity with those victims. Epstein's resulting abuse of minor victims included, among other things, touching a victim's breasts, touching a victim's genitals, placing a sex toy such as a vibrator on a victim's genitals, directing a victim to touch Epstein while he masturbated, and directing a victim to touch Epstein's genitals. And and this, guys, is obviously more detailed in the criminal complaint that I had read on the other case, which, it's tough to go through, but, it shows you how he systematically uses other women, typically young girls in that situation. He didn't really use Ghislaine in that case because Ghislaine was in New York while he was doing this stuff in Florida, and she was helping him. She was helping procure women, but in general, he had different women helping him. So Maxwell and Epstein's victims between approximately and or about 1994. Also, Christina, can you figure out how to we can highlight this thing here because I want to highlight stuff here for them.
It's on yours.
Hmm?
It's on yours though.
Okay, we'll just figure it out. Okay, so, and if someone in the chat knows, maybe Christina can pull it up and find out. I don't know. I had it before. What? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Um, between approximately in or about 1994 and in or about 1997, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, facilitated Jeffrey Epstein's access to minor victims by, among other things, inducing and enticing and aiding and abetting the inducement and enticement of multiple minor victims. Victims were groomed and or abused at multiple locations, including the following. Okay, so now we're gonna go through his properties, guys. Which I gotta get a sip of water here. I'm dying. Here, just here. No, I got it right here. No, here. It's fine. All right, so we're gonna go through his properties, guys. As we talked about before, he has the New York property, he has the New Mexico property, he has the West Palm Beach property, and he has the island. Okay, which I think they purposely let. Let's see if this is in the indictment. They might have not had it in this indictment because it's foreign soil. Well, let's see. A multi-story private residence on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, New York, owned by Epstein, the New York residence, which is depicted in the following photograph. Oh, by the way, guys, this house is like 52 million bucks. We searched it on the last episode because the government is actually in the process of seizing it. All right. An estate in Palm Beach, Florida, owned by Epstein, the Palm Beach residence, which is depicted in the following photograph. And also, guys, I showed this property as well in West Palm Beach, which this house is also worth a fortune as well. Palm Beach. And then a ranch in Santa Fe, New Mexico, owned by Epstein, doing New Mexico residence, which is depicted in the following photograph. God damn, look at this thing. Woo, all right. Out in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. Maxwell's personal residence in London, England. Among the victims induced or enticed by Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, were minor victims identified herein as minor victim 1, minor victim 2, and minor victim 3. In particular, and during time periods relevant to this indictment, Maxwell engaged in the following acts, among others, with respect to minor victims. Maxwell met minor victim 1 when minor victim 1 was approximately 14 years old. Maxwell subsequently interacted with minor victim 1 on multiple occasions at Epstein's residences, knowing that minor victim 1 was under the age of 18 at the time. During these interactions, which took place between approximately 1994 and 1997, Maxwell groomed minor victim 1 to engage in sexual acts with Epstein through multiple means. First, Maxwell and Epstein attempted to befriend minor victim 1, taking her to the movies and to shopping trips. And this is what they would do, guys. They would spend money on these victims. Maxwell also asked minor victim 1 about school, her classes, her family, and other aspects of her life. Maxwell then sought to normalize inappropriate and abusive conduct by, among other things, undressing in front of minor victim 1 and being present when minor victim 1 undressed in front of Epstein. Within the first year after Maxwell and Epstein met minor victim 1, Epstein began sexually abusing minor victim 1. Maxwell was present for and involved in some of this abuse. In particular, Maxwell involved minor victim 1 in group sexualized massages of Epstein. During those group sexualized massages, Maxwell and or minor victim 1 would engage in sex acts with Epstein. Epstein and Maxwell both encouraged minor victim 1 to travel to Epstein's residences in both New York and Florida. As a result, minor victim 1 was sexually abused by Epstein in both New York and Florida. Minor victim 1 was enticed to travel across state lines for the purpose of sexual encounters with Epstein, and Maxwell is aware that Epstein engaged in sexual activity with minor victim 1 after minor victim 1 traveled to Epstein's properties, including in the context of a sexualized massage. Maxwell interacted with minor victim 2, and guys, just so you know, there were 4 main victims that the government built their case around, okay? And these are the 4 victims that testified at the trial, which we're going to talk about that here next. And then we're also going to talk about how, for lack of a better term, one of the jurors fucked up, okay? We're going to break that down as well. And there's a chance that Maxwell might get a mistrial here. But I'm going to break that down for you guys and explain the gravity of the situation. But let's keep going through here so that we understand the charges, all right? So now we're going to talk about minor victim 2. Maxwell interacted with minor victim 2 on at least one occasion in or about 1996 at Epstein's residence in New Mexico when minor victim 2 was under the age of 18. Minor victim 2 had flown into New Mexico from out of state at Epstein's invitation for the purpose of being groomed for and or subjected to acts of sexual abuse. Maxwell knew that minor victim 2 was under the age of 18 at the time. While in New Mexico, Maxwell and Epstein took minor victim 2 to a movie, and Maxwell took minor victim 2 shopping. Maxwell also discussed minor victim 2's school, classes, and family with minor victim 2. This is to build rapport with the victims, guys. In New Mexico, Maxwell began her efforts to groom minor victim 2 for abuse by Epstein by, among other things, providing an unsolicited massage to minor victim 2, during which minor victim 2 was topless. Maxwell also encouraged minor victim 2 to massage Epstein. So you guys can see that she's getting actively involved here to make the girls feel more comfortable with dealing with Epstein. All right. And Christina, don't forget to highlight any chats that come across. Huh? Okay. But you just click the button. Oh, the highlighting thing. Okay, yeah. But just click the button for anybody that, highlight their stuff. Maxwell groomed and befriended minor victim 3 in London, England between approximately 1994 and 1995, including a period of time in which Maxwell knew that minor victim 3 was under the age of 18. Among other things, Maxwell discussed minor victim 3's life and family with minor victim 3. Maxwell introduced minor victim 3 to Epstein and arranged for multiple interactions between minor victim 3 and Epstein. During these interactions, Maxwell encouraged minor victim 3 to massage Epstein, knowing that Epstein would engage in sex acts with minor victim 3 during those massages. Minor victim 3 provided Epstein with the requested massages, and during those massages, Epstein sexually abused minor victim 3. Maxwell is aware that Epstein engaged in sexual activity with minor victim 3 on multiple occasions, including at times when minor victim 3 was under the age of 18, including in the context of a sexualized massage. Maxwell's efforts to conceal her conduct. In or around 2016, in the context of a deposition as part of civil litigation. Okay, so, all right, now this makes sense. So, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, repeatedly provided false and perjurious statements under oath regarding, among other things, her role in facilitating and before I get into this and read this parts to conceal the conduct, I want to let you guys know, when I pulled up her and Epstein's case, they were getting sued out the wooza. I saw so many civil cases, guys, against her and Epstein, and I'll actually show you guys some of them when we get into the trial part. But yeah, and the civil litigation, guys, was basically a lot of the victims came forward and sued her and Epstein for money. So clearly they brought her in for a deposition, and she lied. So under oath regarding, among other subjects, her role in facilitating the abuse of minor victims by Jeffrey Epstein, including some of the specific events and acts of abuse detailed above. Statutory allegations. From at least in or about 1994 up to and including in or about 1997 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, Jeffrey Epstein, and others known and unknown willfully and knowingly did combine, conspire, confederate, and agree together and with each other to commit an offense against the United States, to wit, enticement in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 2422, which, by the way, guys, Title 18 of the United States Code is criminal. These are all the criminal statutes. It was a part and object to the conspiracy that Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, Jeffrey Epstein, and others, known and unknown, would and did knowingly persuade, induce, entice, and coerce one and more individuals to travel in interstate and foreign commerce to engage in sexual activity for which a person can be charged with a criminal offense in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 2422. Overt acts. Remember, guys, we talked about conspiracy, right? Conspiracy is an agreement between two or more people to commit a crime, but you need an overt act to ensure to make the conspiracy charge stick. So now we're going to actually go over the overt acts which led to the conspiracy charge being hit. So in other words, you have to have the act, where you have to have the conspiracy, then you have to have the overt act, then you have the actual act. Okay, does that make sense? So overt acts. And furtherance of the conspiracy to affect the illegal object thereof, the following overt acts, among others, were committed in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. Between in or about 1994 and in or about 1997, when minor victim 1 was under the age of 18, Maxwell participated in multiple group sexual encounters with Epstein and minor victim 1 in New York and Florida. In or about 1996, when minor victim 1 was under the age of 18, minor victim 1 was enticed to travel from Florida to New York for purposes of sexually abusing her at the New York residence, in violation of the New York Penal Code, Section 130.55. In or about 1996, when minor victim 2 was under the age of 18, Maxwell provided minor victim 2 with an unsolicited massage in New Mexico, during which minor victim 2 was topless. Between in or about 1994 and in or about 1995, when minor victim 3 was under the age of 18, Maxwell encouraged minor victim 3 to provide massages to Epstein in London, England, knowing that Epstein intended to sexually abuse minor victim 3 during those massages. Count 2, enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. The grand jury further charges the allegations contained in paragraphs 1 through 8 of this indictment are repeated and realleged as if fully set forth within. From at least in or about 1994 up to and including in or about 1997 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, knowingly did persuade, induce, entice, and coerce an individual to travel in interstate and foreign commerce to engage in sexual activity for which a person can be charged with a criminal offense and attempted to do the same and aided and abetted the same, to wit, Maxwell persuaded, induced, enticed, and coerced minor victim 1 to travel from Florida to New York on multiple occasions with the intention that minor victim 1 would engage in one or more sex acts with Jeffrey Epstein in violation of New York Penal Law, Section 130.55. Count 3, conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. The grand jury further charges the allegations contained in paragraphs 1 through 8 of this indictment are repeated and realleged as if fully set forth within. And as you guys can see, the same paragraph, right? It was a part and object to the conspiracy that Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, Jeffrey Epstein, and others, known and unknown, would and did knowingly transport an individual who had not attained the age of 18 in interstate and foreign commerce with the intent that the individual engage in sexual activity for which a person can be charged with criminal offense in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 2423. So the big thing, guys, is not 18 years old, okay? Overt acts again. In furtherance of the conspiracy and to affect the illegal object thereof, the following overt acts, among others, were committed in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. Let's see here. I just want to make sure. So we read this through this. Okay, so they're repeating the stuff, right? So now we're in count 4, right? So they're basically realleging it, guys, for the other victims, right? So each victim is a count, if that makes sense, okay? So same language. Now count 4, transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal and sexual activity. And this one is for victim what? Okay, this is for the Florida victim, I think. All right, we can read this one. All right. The allegations contained in paragraph 1 through 8 of this indictment are repeated and realleged as if fully set forth within. From at least in or about 1994 up to and including in or about 1997 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, knowingly did transport an individual who had not attained the age of 18 in interstate and foreign commerce with the intent that the individual engage in sexual activity for which a person can be charged with a criminal offense and attempted to do so and aided and abetted the same, to wit, Maxwell arranged for minor victim 1 to be transported from Florida to New York on multiple occasions with the intention that minor victim 1 would engage in one or more sex acts with Jeffrey Epstein in violation of New York Penal Law, Section 130.55. All right, count 5, perjury. The allegations contained in paragraph 1 through 8 of this indictment are repeated and realleged as if fully set forth. On or about April 22nd, 2016, in the Southern District of New York, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, having taken a note to testify truthfully in a deposition in connection with a case then pending before the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York under docket number 15-7344, knowingly made false material declarations, to wit, Maxwell gave the following underlined false testimony. God fucking damn, man. Question. Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls for sexual massages? If you know. Answer. I don't know what you're talking about. List all the people under the age of 18 that you interacted with at any of Jeffrey Epstein's properties. Answer. I'm not aware of anybody that I interacted with other than, obviously, the plaintiff, who was 17 at this point. Goddamn. Count 6, perjury again. The allegations contained in paragraph 1 through 8 of this indictment are repeated and realleged as if fully set forth within. Give me 1 second. Are the sound effects playing? Give me a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear the sound effects. Huh? I think they can hear him. Yeah. I think the sound effects are working. Never mind. I think we're good. Okay. See ones in the chat? Do you see ones in the chat over there? Give me ones in the chat if you guys can hear the sound effects. It is ones? All right, cool. All right. So sorry about that, guys. So on or about July 22nd, 2016, so another deposition in the Southern District of New York, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, having taken an oath to testify truthfully in a deposition in connection with the case then pending before the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York under docket number 15 Civ 7344, knowingly made false material declarations, to wit, Maxwell gave the following underlined false testimony. Were you aware of the presence of sex toys or devices used in sexual activities in Mr. Epstein's Palm Beach house? Answer, no, not that I recall. Oh, man. Do you know whether Mr. Epstein possessed sex toys or devices used in sexual activities? Answer, no. Question. Other than yourself and the blonde and brunette that you have identified as having been involved in three-way sexual activities, with whom did Mr. Epstein have sexual activities? I wasn't aware that he was having sexual activities with anyone when I was with him other than myself. Oh, my God. Question. I want to be sure that I'm clear. Is it your testimony that in the 1990s and 2000s, you were not aware that Mr. Epstein was having sexual activities with anyone other than yourself and the blonde and brunette on those few occasions when they were involved with you? That is my testimony. That is correct. Is it your testimony that you've never given anybody a massage? Answer. I have not given anyone a massage. You never gave Mr. Epstein a massage. Is that your testimony? Answer. That is my testimony. You never gave a minor victim 2 a massage. Is your testimony? I never gave minor victim 2 a massage. Oh, Lord. And yes. And the true bill of indictment is here. The 4-person signed it. And that is the indictment against her, guys. Lying all over the place. She should have done what Epstein did and said, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to not answer any questions. I'm going to remain silent. That's what Epstein did during those depositions, man. Oh, Lord. All right.